I am Ellie Farrell. I am your owner relations director. We've got a team of about 5 people here in the office. So you'll be working with myself, with Jane Coppertino, and Terry Youngern as well. So we'll be your kind of go-tos for anything St. James timeshare related for you. And I have grown up actually here in the Valley, was born and raised, and then got out of here for some education over at Gonzaga University, and then kind of in and out the hospitality industry. Started with East West in 2016 before a small stint working as a high school business teacher. So, but yeah, really glad to be here with you guys and excited. We've been doing fractional and timeshare owner relations in this department for about 25 years for different properties around the Valley. So we've got experience on many different ownerships, and we're excited to take yours on. So we'll be your go-to pretty much. Start with us and we'll get you where you need to go.
Yeah, thanks, Ellie. So that kind of is an important piece, kind of represents the biggest operational shift that you guys will experience with East West as your management company. Previously, Vail Resorts, I think they only had, this was their only fractional property. And so they had an on-site manager who was kind of dedicated to a lot of the owner relations admin piece of the fractional. And with, as Ellie alluded to, we manage, I believe, is it 9 fractional properties?
East West, probably. We do 6.
Right. Yeah. So we've got a ton of experience in administering fractional properties, and we've got the luxury of being able to lean on Ellie and her team to administer all of that. And so we don't have to take all those eggs and put it in one person's basket here at the property. So with that, I guess we can move to the Q&A portion of the meeting. And so I believe you can unmute yourself. If you want to raise your hand, maybe we can call on you. That way we can keep it a little orderly.
And feel free to put some things in the chat as well. I'll keep an eye on that.
So Eric?
Yes, sir.
Just walk us through, since this is all new to us, you are all new to us. So I pull into the driveway and walk inside. Who am I going to see? Are you going to be behind a counter, or will we see some of the faces we are used to seeing there?
Yeah, so you'll see me periodically. I'm the general manager of the project, and so my purview extends far beyond the front desk. That being said, I am a hospitality person. I do spend a lot of time at the front desk, and so you will see me. We've been able to retain a couple key pieces from Vail, so you'll recognize Myra from the front desk team. We've got pretty much all the housekeeping team stayed on board with us, and so yeah, we've got really great new people in place that you'll really get to know and enjoy working with them as well. But I'm available to any owner of the project at any point in time. My cell phone number is in my email signature. You can call me, text me, email me, whatever's clever. But yeah, I'll be here. I'm here about 60 hours a week.
Okay. So who's going to be over at the concierge desk?
Laura.
Same lady?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Correct. Did you keep most of the maintenance guys? I got to, having been there so long, I kind of knew all of them,
Yeah, so we kept, and Vail, they kind of had a bit of a revolving door. Leo might come back after a month, but we kept Lawrence and Carlos. I know Carlos is a fan favorite, and then we've kind of filled in some pieces with our folks who, the maintenance kind of got a little behind schedule, and I think that's really the primary reason that we're here. And so one of our goals is to, restore the quality of the plant, property, and equipment, and we're in good shape to do that.
Okay. I just was curious, who we'll see on our day-to-day interactions. That's all.
Correct. Yeah, you'll see some familiar faces and some new faces, and we look forward to building those relationships with you guys.
Thank you.
So, Eric, this is Mike and Allison Amick. We own a few weeks there. You mentioned at the beginning in your opening comments that there was I think you quote you to a lot of work to get done. Specifically, I think you addressed in general some of the maintenance items that were kind of falling behind. Can you talk specifically as to what's kind of at the top of y'all's priority list? In
Yes.
terms of some of these maintenance items, anyway, just I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the mechanicals are in need of some work. And so we're reconfiguring some of the hot water systems in the building, trying to go to more of an efficient on-demand type system. The plumbing is not in great shape. The storm drains and the sewer drains are in need of service. And so we're going to service those and probably go in and do a lining inside all of the pipes. We're digesting the structural engineering studies, and we're going to be doing quite a bit of waterproofing around the property. Windows are a pretty pressing need, so we're going to be approaching the windows systematically, waterproofing on the exterior decks. And the big one hanging out there is going to be the re-roof, which I'm trying to push to about 5 years at this point. The interior, the FF&E, the carpeting, the furniture, those are things that I would like to get done. Obviously, aesthetics and cosmetic improvements are a different conversation when you've got larger plant property and equipment conversations going on. But I think, the board and the owners, what I'm sensing is that everybody really has an appetite to bring St. James back to a Class A establishment, because it feels like it's kind of fallen off of that benchmark a little bit.
Did not hear you mention elevators. Is there any thought to, and I don't know that we've been there for, I guess, 3 or 4 years, maybe not as long as some of the others here, but there obviously can be a challenge, especially during the peak weeks. Is there anything that can be done there to
Yes.
see?
Yeah, 100%. So Vail Resorts had retained a company called Peak Elevator Maintenance. That's not a company that East West has contracted on any of our properties. And so based on what I'm seeing in just, the 3 weeks that I've been here, the elevators are way below par. And so the one elevator in the lobby has been out since I've stepped foot on this building. I think I've got it fixed, and we've got the state coming to do their inspection this week. That being said, I've got an independent elevator evaluation company coming in from Los Angeles. A guy named Rick Saseda is going to be here on July 26th for 3 days to do an assessment of all this current site conditions, and then go back to Peak and hold their feet to the fire to address any deficiencies that they're able to identify. And then at the same time, they were going to rebid out that service contract. And at this point, I'm not sure I even want to entertain having Peak make a proposal on that, because what I'm seeing is just unacceptable.
Those are welcome. That's a welcome assessment,
Right.
and I appreciate y'all's attention to that.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
We've got some in the chat, and actually one that was sent via email about the elevators. So I hope that did answer that question from the email. But in the chat we have, how has it been going since you took over?
It's been going great.
I think we can both take a turn on that one if you'd like.
Yeah, it's been going great. It's really exciting. It's a big project, and with Ellie and myself, we're pretty much uniquely qualified to take on this project, given our experience in everything that we just listed. And so it's nice for me because I'm coming from a large portfolio where I've had 7 properties and 6 boards and 2 developers. And so it's really kind of nice for me to be able to be really hyper focused on one project, and one project that needs that hyper focus. And it's been great. It's obviously there are some challenges, and I'll spare you some of the gory details. And transition is never easy, and typically for a board of directors to initiate a change in management after 25 years requires, it's an extraordinary circumstances, and there are some extraordinary challenges, but we're certainly up for it.
I think I'd probably echo, I was going to say almost verbatim what you have said. Definitely always the challenges in the transition, making sure we get all the information that we need from the previous management company, I would say is probably the hardest part of transitions. And that is probably why you all have been experiencing that delay in knowing when your reservations were for the rest of the year, which we now have those. So if you need to do any confirmations, anything that you confirmed with Vail is now in our pocket, which is great. But it does take a while, considering we took over July 1st and now we're on the 21st. It's a process. And then just it's going to be a lot of back and forth between myself and your old reservations team sometimes with that information. And we're happy to do it, but excited for the day that we don't have to. So yeah, it's definitely it takes some time, but I'd say all in all, considering this is about the quickest transition I've had, to have all the accessed information within a month of the transition is great. So that's a positive outlook on that, at least.
Anything else in the chat? I can't see it for some reason.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh,
We do have
no.
one. Yeah, we had another one that says, what are some changes we will see with your team? Eric, do you want to start and then I'll go after you?
Yeah, so obviously the change, the management is pretty much all going to be brand new. I will be the new general manager. We've got a new housekeeping manager. We've got a new director of engineering. And so that was kind of by design. I think, a fresh look and approach in management was kind of part of the prerogative here. We're eliminating a management position because, like I said previously, all that owner relations had been kind of put on Sarah's desk, and we're going to shift that over to our internal owner relations department. And we're going to have Bruce Wetzel, who's going to be our assistant general manager, kind of be in charge of a lot of the daily operations. He'll sort of be a hybrid of owner relations and front office manager and that kind of thing. So we're kind of eliminating that extra management position in the process. We've got a couple familiar faces you'll see at the front desk, but again, some really great new team members.
And then, yeah, just as Eric was saying, the owner relations will be moving over to us. So anytime you would have called Sarah Wood or emailed her, you'd be now emailing my team. And that's that sjreservations@eastwest.com. So that'll be probably the biggest change there that you'll see when you're not on site. As far as anything that you need questions wise, that'll be there. We are using the same platform that they were using behind the scenes. So that will hopefully keep everything a little bit more familiar. As far as reservation confirmations, things of that nature. I think the big thing is we are gathering those documents, the rules and regulation documents from the board right now, so that we can refresh them and send them back out to you guys to say, hey, this is, these are the rules and regulations. So this is what we're going with. I don't know, how well Vail Resorts was holding those up, but we are, we're going to go from the ground up and make sure we are following the rules and regulations of your ownership. So we'll be sending that out soon, just as a refresher, and then also a refresher for us to know how we are going to be taking your reservations. So not necessarily changes, I suppose, just a reminder and a helpful way for my team to know, how do we make reservations for you guys? So, yeah.
I've got a
Yes.
question. I was thinking when you were saying that. So the website for St. James Place stays as is for now, right?
For the moment, yes. We will have a new one. That one does stick through the end of the month, I believe. Is that right, Eric?
No, we'll be keeping that in place till we've got Vanica going.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah, so we got a couple more months. We're looking at like October or November for that.
okay.
And so we are administering that website.
Okay, and that's where if people want to trade, you used to put in your request there, that process, I'm not that I need it right now or anything like that, but that process will eventually, I guess, change on it. It'll be there, but maybe done differently, because you used to put it in and then y'all had, they had Sarah or somebody, I guess, I'm not sure who approved it and then let you know it was out there. That's the only thing major, other than lookup, that I've used on the website. And of course the days, knowing when the calendar was, but okay, thank you. And
Yeah,
yes,
whatever we do for a new website, we will make sure that process stays the same
Okay.
to keep consistency.
Ellie, is it accurate to say you guys are no longer on the property? You're now down in Avon, aren't you?
Correct. Yes. Yeah, we're currently in Beaver Creek, but we will permanently be in Avon starting this winter.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Ellie, would you mind speaking a little bit about our rental program?
Yes. Yeah, that'll be another big change. So, if you had previously composed a rental agreement with Vail Resorts, they do expect that rental agreement to be honored for the rest of 2022. So if back in March you signed a rental agreement, you you are still in that rental agreement. Of course, you can call them and see if it hasn't rented and remove yourself from that agreement. But any agreements moving forward can be done with my team. So reaching out to our team and we'll send you that rental agreement in order to fill that out and get your unit or week that you're not going to use on that rental market. So previously you would have done that with Vail Resorts. Now you will do that with my team.
Yeah, and we're offering a better split, correct?
I believe so, yes. Yeah, we are 70-30.
Is that the only, excuse me, is that the only option for renting your property?
No, it is still in your rules and regulations that you can rent it on your own if you so choose. As long as you, of course, inform us of that guest that is going to be using your unit. But if you want the ease of not having to do the back and forth, we're happy to be here for you.
Eric, this may be a little bit of an unfair question, just given the, shortness of your, y'all stay so far, but, given, some of the assessments that you've done and the statement around maintenance being, needing to be caught up, let's just put it that way. What's your assessment of current dues, and homeowner association fees? Is it sufficient, you think, to take care of? And I know the roof is another probably item,
Yeah.
but everything else that you kind of listed outside of that is, do you feel like there's enough revenue coming in through the HOA to address these issues?
Well, the revenue piece is an interesting comment, and I'll circle back on that. So basically, the cost of doing business in this market, whether it be East West or Vail Resorts, is skyrocketing. Labor is crazy, utilities are crazy, insurance is a huge wild card. And so we're currently working on our end of year forecast and 2023 budget. We're kind of doing that based off 6 months of financials that we've inherited from Vail, and some assumptions that they weren't able to make that we'll be able to kind of plug in. But generally speaking, I would not be surprised if dues do go up. We've got a list longer than my arm to try to tackle in terms of deferred maintenance and capital projects. The reserve fund is healthy. I think there's about $3 million in reserves, and we're going to be looking at different investment vehicles for that money. I think it's mostly sitting in cash right now. That's not going to really put a dent in the roof. And so the board's going to have a serious conversation of how we want to tackle funding that project. And if it's on the 5-year horizon, you're probably looking at a blended approach of, exponential increase in reserve assessments for the next 5 years, and then kind of couple that with some financing options when the project is actually on the table and ready to go. So that being said, we're taking a look at different ways to generate revenue for the HOA. We're talking about, having rental guests pay for their housekeeping. We're kicking around some different resort fee ideas. One of the things that we're going to look at doing is maybe renting out some unsold bonus weeks which will help subsidize the HOA budget. Housekeeping rates are below market, and 100% of that housekeeping revenue does flow back to the HOA. And so it's kind of a pick your poison proposition as to whether or not you want to increase those. And so the user, takes the hit, or if the HOA wants to take the hit. And so we're going to have to be a little bit creative, but we're looking at both sides of the equation.
We have another question in the chat. It says, will bonus weeks for fractional owners be handled the same way? And we will be handling the bonus weeks per the rules and regulations. And what I'll do is once we are done with this meeting, with the recording, I'll send out both our rental agreement form and our bonus week forms so that you guys can look through those and read through those and get a good refresher. But from the rules and regulations, the bonus weeks for 2023 will be handled this fall on a first come first serve form received basis once we send those forms out. And then once that process is complete, the remaining weeks will just be on a first come first serve basis. So right now, technically, we would be in that 2022 first come first serve basis because that initial booking would have been done last November. And the big thing that I do see that we'll need to kind of follow up with a couple owners on is that payment being received within 10 days of booking. So I will be reaching out if you guys do have bonus weeks. That's one thing that I have to be still continually working with VR on to make sure that any payments done with them are transferred over to us. And then I'll be reaching out to owners who have weeks booked and have not paid that amount for that bonus week. So for now, you can still send those requests my way. We do have a callback list right now that I'm slowly working through now that I have access to the system and doing those from that first come first serve basis. And again, like I said, we will then reach out to you for that payment within 10 days of booking. And once we receive that payment, we'll send out confirmation of the reservation.
Yeah.
So I don't
now that-
know. I would assume that's the same way, but yes, that's how we're handling them.
Yeah. And what Ellie mentioned is we kind of don't, when you say handled the same way, we're not really intimately familiar with the same way that you're referring to. We've got a pretty strict guideline that we're, set in stone that has been handed to us. And so that's going to be our initial approach. One thing I would mention is that in order to be eligible for a bonus week, you have to be in good financial standing with the homeowners association. Collections is kind of gotten away from Vail a little bit. And so one of our tasks is to try to get in here and clean that up.
And I do believe on that note too, you should have received, if you were behind in any HOA dues, you would have received an email from our accounting team informing you of that too. Any accounting questions you can send my way at the moment. We don't have an accounting contact set in stone quite yet. So you can still send those to sjreservations@eastwest.com.
Yeah, and feel free to copy me on any correspondence if that lends itself to additional comfort. So I'm not seeing any other questions. Maybe I've got a question for the group. And so we've when we started on July 1st, we're pretty much 100% full. And so I haven't really had a lot of time to spend inside many of the fractional units outside of just quick inspections and that kind of thing. And so I'm trying to get a sense, from this group as to how are your feelings about the current quality and state of those fractional units, anything that you'd like to, any feedback that you'd like to give us to kind of focus on to improve that experience for you guys.
Eric, Mike Amick again. I would characterize it as pretty good. If it was on a scale of, kind of 1 to 10, I would say, 7-ish. Generally things are in pretty good shape. I would also characterize it based on other places that we've stayed, probably tired would be a way to think about it. That's just
I would say
our opinion, and we've been in, I guess 2 or 3 different units. We own 2, in the process of buying a 3rd. So we're obviously pleased with what we see. And but that would be a way of characterizing it.
Mark and our unit's great, and I would rate it at least an 8+, if not higher, but yeah. There's certain pieces of furniture when they redid the furniture to what it is now, but
That we question.
well,
their
that we
sales.
question, but I could go into that, but nothing much. No, I, you know, so our unit is quite nice, so.
Well, that's really nice to hear. And that's about where I'm at with it. I think they are really nice. I think there's a little bit of opportunity. You know, one thing I'm kind of looking at right now is an improvement to the linen quality. Any other comments on the units themselves? Looks like bathrooms need some deep cleaning. Yeah, you know, we're coming in here really drinking from a fire hose from a housekeeping perspective. Based on what I'm seeing, it doesn't seem like they were really truly deep cleaned this spring. And so as soon as we've got an opportunity to do that, we're going to go through and really do a deep clean in the units. I think that will be an important step.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, we're gonna be there in a few weeks anyway, so you know, if things have changed since the last time we were there, I can give you an update on that, but
Yeah,
the one, I don't know about anybody else, but when they redid the units, there used to be a desk. And they changed it to that high table. I don't know how to describe it,
With a lamp on it.
with a lamp or something on it, and that was the biggest waste of money. That's the one thing, I don't know about anybody else, but in our units, you know, we have a 2-bedroom, and it would be nice to have a desk back. You know, we use the dining table now, but that's the only major thing that I saw when they changed out the furniture to the current. That was kind of strange, as they took that out and put a decorative high table in there. Serves really no purpose, no drawers, no nothing, you know, that kind of thing.
We did have one comment for a recap on major changes. And what I'll say is this is definitely being recorded and we will send that out. So if you want kind of the deeper delve into it, please do watch that recording when I send that out. But for the most part, changes in staffing will be the biggest change that you guys see probably. And then like Eric said, he's got a long laundry list of things to fix and hopefully improve around the property. And then as far as reservations go, we're just gonna go by the rules and regulations that you guys have in place for your ownership. So we'll be sending that out as well.
yeah. And you know, one thing I'd reiterate, and Chris and Mike, I'm available directly one-on-one anytime. If you want to call me and just chat or email or whatever, I'm here so we can address anything big or small at any point in time.
You know, since we do have many other owners on the call that have been there longer than Allison and I apologize for the the amount of. I just want to make sure it kind of, you know, gets on the record as a question. We were there 2 years ago, and we basically are there weeks 9 and weeks 8 and 9. And there was an event that was attributed to the Dusty Boot cleaning out their grease pit or something, and it was basically or grease trap, and it was basically the smell of raw sewage that permeated throughout the entire complex, which lasted for the better part of, you know, a full day. And you know, if it was a single event, it was, you know, no issue, and we haven't experienced it again, but it was said that it happens often. I didn't know if there was any other owners on the call that have ever experienced that before, but it was just one of those things where, you know, 10-15% of your trip was you couldn't go in the building at all. So, and if you were on an upper floor, it was really a problem, which we were and are. So is that news to other people, or is that something that's fairly well known? Or I guess silence is, you know, hey, maybe it's a one-time event, but that's not what management said. It said it was, you know, something that happens more than once a year. a few
Few
times.
times a year.
Yeah, a few times a year. So,
I would make, based on my experience with maintaining grease traps, is that they should be doing that quarterly. And I've got a good relationship with the Dusty Boot management group. And so I can talk to them about making sure that that's done at less impactful times. If you let that type of maintenance go, then you run into a much bigger issue. And so staying on top of that's important, but also finding the right time to do it's important. So we'll work on that with them.
You got one more? Mark's got another one.
Go ahead, Mark.
Eric, as this is a long-term thing, as you guys work through the building, if you ever have to replace toilets for any reason, whether it's one unit and one toilet or 10 units and 10 toilets, can you change those over to ADA compliant toilets, the tall ones?
Yeah, we can take a look at that.
Yeah, I mean, as we get older, it's a little bit nicer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great feedback.
Thank you.
I see Ron on the call. How are you, Ron? Ron's my buddy. I met him last week. Let's see. Are there plans to move more fully staffed during bonus week? That sounds, so the pools can, that is something that we're taking a look at. And obviously there's a cost associated with longer staff hours. I'm certainly open to the idea. We can also try to capture some, crossover. We're part of this division encompasses the charter and the St. James. And so there might be some opportunity there to be able to utilize their services because they're 24/7, 365. But yeah, that's certainly a conversation that we can have with the board, but there would be obviously a cost associated with doing something like that. Any other questions or comments? Well, looks like, oh, thanks. Okay, well, hearing none, again, really appreciate you guys. This is a great turnout. Based on some of the feedback and the turnout, we'll probably keep rolling these out periodically so more owners will have the opportunity to get this information and have us answer anything that they need. But again, I'll reiterate, I'm here. Everybody should have my contact information. If you need anything big or small, don't hesitate to reach right out to me.
And us as well.
Yeah, and we really look forward to seeing you guys in person. So when you're here, just make sure to come by and grab me.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.